As we all know, this year has been a tough one for many Canadians. The housing market has gone from bad to worse, with prices reaching record highs and showing no signs of slowing down anytime soon. But it wasn't just homeowners who suffered in 2022. Almost every aspect of our daily life has been affected by the rising cost of living. We've seen grocery prices skyrocket, gas prices hit a new high, and even the price of a used car seems to be going up every day. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. While it may not be much consolation right now, things will eventually get better. And when they do, you can rest assured that Canadians will be leading the charge. Canadians are known for their resilience and their ability to bounce back in the face of adversity. They're also known for being some of the most polite people in the world. But don't let that fool you. When Canadians set their minds to something, they're unstoppable. Take, for example, the recent travel boycott that was imposed on the United States. It was a massive undertaking that required the cooperation of an entire nation, but Canadians pulled it off without breaking a sweat. Of course, it wasn't exactly a hardship for most people. In fact, many Canadians were happy to comply. They understood the importance of the boycott and were willing to make sacrifices to support their fellow citizens. In today's video, we'll take a look at 7 U.S. states that are feeling the pinch. Before we get started, be sure to hit the like button for more videos. Now, let's have some fun. No. 7. Vermont. This state has always been a popular destination for Canadians. In fact, in 2016, over 3 million Canadians visited Vermont. This spending had a major impact on the state's economy. In total, Canadians spent over $2 billion in Vermont that year. So it should come as no surprise that the state is feeling the effects of the Canadian boycott. According to the Vermont Tourism and Marketing Department, Canadian visitors have decreased by over 50% since the boycott began. This represents a loss of nearly $1 billion in spending for the state. That's a lot of money. Vermont isn't the only state that's suffering from a lack of Canadian visitors. In fact, over the past few months, we've seen Canadian tourists stay away from destinations across the United States. As a result, these places are losing billions of dollars in revenue. If the boycott continues, who knows how much damage it'll do. Number 6. Maine. If you're looking for a quintessential New England experience, then look no further than the state of Maine. With its charming, small towns, stunning fall foliage, and beautiful coastline, Maine is a dream destination for many Canadians. In fact, in 2016 alone, over 2.8 million Canadian visitors traveled to Maine, contributing over $1.7 billion to the state's economy. However, since the boycott began, Canadian visitors have dropped by over 40%, according to the Maine Office of Tourism. That's a loss of nearly $1 billion for the state. No. 5. Hawaii. The Aloha State has always been a popular vacation spot for Canadians. After all, what could be more relaxing than lounging on a beach in Hawaii while sipping on a Mai Tai? In 2016, over 978,000 Canadians traveled to Hawaii, spending over $11 billion in the process. However, since the boycott began, Canadian visitors have fallen by over 35% according to the Hawaii Tourism Authority. That's a loss of nearly $4 billion for the state. No. 4. Alaska. The last frontier is another state that has suffered due to the Canadian boycott. According to the Alaska Travel Industry Association, Canadian visitors have fallen by over 45% since the boycott began. That's a loss of nearly $3 billion for the state. No. 3. Nevada. The Silver State has always been a popular destination for Canadians, especially those from British Columbia. After all, Las Vegas is just a stone's throw away from the border. In 2016, over 4.4 million Canadians visited Nevada, spending over $9.6 billion in the process. However, since the boycott began, Canadian visitors have fallen by over 50%. That's a loss of nearly $5 billion for the state. No. 2. California. The Golden State has suffered the most from the Canadian boycott of any state in the U.S. in 2016. Over 9.6 million Canadians visited California, spending over $24.6 billion in the process. However, since the boycott began, Canadian visitors have fallen by over 60%. That's a loss of nearly $15 billion for the state. And no. 1. New York. That's right. Even New York City has felt the effects of the Canadian boycott. In 2016, over 30 million Canadians visited the Big Apple, spending over $28.8 billion in the process. However, since the boycott began, Canadian visitors have fallen by over 65%. That's a loss of nearly $20 billion for the state. So there you have it, the 7 U.S. states that are feeling the pinch of the Canadian boycott. These states have suffered billions of dollars in lost revenue since the boycott began. And if it continues, who knows how much damage it'll do. Now, you may be wondering, why exactly is Canada boycotting these states? Well, the answer is simple. It's all about politics. Earlier this year, the U.S. government announced that they would be imposing a travel ban on several countries, including Canada. The reason given was the need to protect the country from terrorism. However, many people, including Canadians, saw through this as a thinly veiled attempt to keep out Muslims. In response to the travel ban, Canada announced that they would be imposing a boycott on the United States. This boycott calls for Canadians to avoid all non-essential travel to the United States. This includes vacations, business trips, and even visits to see friends and family. Canadians are also encouraged to boycott American goods and services whenever possible. Of course, the boycott hasn't been entirely effective. In fact, most Canadians have continued to travel to the United States as normal. However, the boycott has certainly taken its toll on the U.S. economy, especially in the 7 states that we've discussed today. If you're a Canadian citizen, you probably don't think that your country has much power on the world stage. After all, Canada is often seen as a bit of a pushover, but don't underestimate the power of the Canadian boycott. It may seem like a small act of defiance, but it can have a big impact. Just ask the people of Vermont or Hawaii. They'll tell you firsthand how damaging the Canadian boycott can be. Of course, it's not all bad news. The Canadian boycott has put a spotlight on the need for political asylum in the United States. Many people around the world are now calling for the United States to reverse its decision and allow refugees fleeing persecution to enter the country. Hopefully, this will happen soon. In the meantime, though, the Canadian boycott will continue and the damage to the U.S. economy will continue as well. Have you been affected by the Canadian boycott? Let us know in the comments below. Do you think that Canada should lift the boycott? What about the United States? Should they reverse their decision on the travel ban? We'd love to hear your thoughts. That's all for this video, folks. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit the like button for more great content.